Right, morning everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for this webinar. We should only take round about 45 minutes, so and don't worry, it's not going to be death by PowerPoint or anything. I will be recording this as obviously to send out to anyone that couldn't actually make today's time, but also to send out to the attendees as well to save you taking lots of different notes. If you do have any questions, please use the message function in Teams, and I'll try and cover off any questions at the end. So again, thank you very much for joining us. My name's Steve Stover. I'm one of the directors over at CCS, and what I've tried to do is pull together a webinar that is talking about business continuity and what you can do in the event of a disaster, but also how ISO22301 Business Continuity Standard can help any organization. We've got a relatively short agenda. We're just really going to talk around sort of, why do anything and why do anything now? What are the threats and what is the impact to you? But also, what are your options to potentially overcome those threats? And then just to cover off, how can CCS help you in improving your business continuity and disaster recovery and mitigating risks associated from everything from a minor incident through to a major disaster. So why do anything? I suppose it's really the question is, can your business continue if your company was affected by disaster? If disaster strikes and your company is affected, can you continue to run your business? Can you continue to work with your customers? And at the same time, protecting the stakeholders for your business, whether that be your customers, your suppliers, your partners, or your employees. Now, can you continue to run your business from an operational point of view? Can you continue to meet customer needs? Can you ship goods out? Can you still provide services? Are your staff aware what to do in the event of a disaster if it strikes, whether again that's a minor incident or a major disaster? And for how long can you recover? Or how long can you continue to run your business in the event of a disaster if you don't have plans and procedures and processes actually in place? If a disaster strikes, do you even know your customers? Can you still get access to your CRM systems? Can you still meet delivery, service level agreements that might be contractually based? Can you still provide a great level of customer service? And one of the key ones is, can you continue to protect your stakeholders in your business, the people that are paying the bills, your customers, provide that you're billing for services that you're actually providing? Can you continue to do that in the event of a disaster? Can you still work with your suppliers or your investors or the market as a whole? It's all formed together a very tight system, being able to run your business, work with your customers and protect your stakeholders. And that's really why do anything, because you need to address those three key areas. Because if your business is impacted, it can be actually huge to both you and your wider ecosystem of suppliers, partners, customers, investors, whoever else might have a stake in your business or provide input into revenue, turnover, advice. Can you actually continue to work if there is actually a disaster? And there are lots of risks out there to organizations. There are obviously IT related risks, but there are also non-IT. From an IT, we're all seeing in the news and the press around cyber attacks, data breaches, ransomware attacks, where businesses are being specifically targeted to extort money from them. And that can be a major disaster for any type of organization. And I'll talk around a little case study over on the next sort of slide. But this phishing attacks, this CEO fraud, impersonation attacks, or just unplanned IT outages, through to software vulnerabilities, through to systems not working as they should do, or just traditional information security incidents, whether that's incidents that are caused by external influencers, such as cyber attacks, etc., I've just mentioned, or whether it's internal information security incidents. But obviously, IT plays a huge part in a lot of organizations' ability to continue to operate and continue to run their business, continue to work with their customers and also to protect their stakeholders. But obviously in a disaster, it can be a non-IT related, interruption to utility supplies, adverse weather, environmental causes. obviously we've gone through and are still going through pandemics and epidemics as well that could also have an effect on a business's ability to continue to operate, and still is a major disaster. Obviously acts of terrorism, but also physical property destruction and material loss of environments where staff and employees need to work and need to actually operate. So there are lots of risks out there for organizations, but it's not just IT. There are obviously a lot of non-IT related risks as well. And this, obviously this list is not extensive. There are hundreds upon different types of risks that can affect a business depending upon their market, their target audience, how they actually operate as an organization. But there are risks out there, and the impacts from these risks can be huge. Now, while certainly we can't predict the future, particularly in the face of so much uncertainty that's happening in the world today, we can look at the past for data and insight. And if you look at some of the reports, one done by FEMA, that 40% of businesses do not reopen after a disaster. And another 25% of them fail within the first year. And if you think sort of getting past year one means a company is out of the water, or out of the woods, sorry, we need to think again. The United States Small Business Administration found that over 90% of companies fail within 2 years of being struck by disaster. Now, that's quite an alarming percentage of businesses that fail after a disaster. We certainly hope that the past research does not come true to businesses in the UK. Now, one of the examples of ransomware significantly disrupting a business was Ireland's healthcare system, HSE. For years, healthcare organisations have been a top target for ransomware attacks, cybersecurity attacks, and have had, I won't use the word lax cybersecurity, but have maybe not had the ability to invest in cybersecurity as much as they would like to have done. And it seems to be that they are a magnet for ransomware groups looking for big payouts. But in 2021, HSE came into a massive attack, and the fallout is actually still trying to be understood nearly a year later. Dozens upon dozens of outpatient services were shut down. IT outages affected at least 5 hospitals, including a Children's Health Island. Their employee payment systems were knocked offline, affecting 146,000 staff. And also, during a global pandemic, the COVID-19 vaccine portal went down as well. Appointments were cancelled. Test results were delayed for COVID-19. And, a near full recovery of all their servers and applications took more than 3 months to do. And the impact to them was absolutely huge. The cost alone was projected to be around about £80 million. And that doesn't include any of the sort of projected costs to implement better security protocols that were also recommended in the wake of the attack. They did have good disaster recovery methods in place despite the impact of the event, but there were also mitigating factors where the attack could have even been worse than it actually was. The IT team managed to shut down 85,000 computers to try and stop the spread of it. But then the disaster recovery teams had to inspect over 2,000 IT systems, literally one by one, to contain the damage and ensure they were clean. Luckily, the cloud-based systems were not exposed to the ransomware attack. And these impacts to this business, this entity, public sector organisation, were huge. And if that would have happened to a private sector organisation, it could have actually, as I've said in this particular slide, it could have had a major, major effect on that organisation. It could have failed, as per the stats from both FEMA and also SBA as well. Now, ISO 22301 is one of the areas that can help organisations look at their business continuity, look at their disaster recovery, and also look at the business continuity management. And it's an international standard that enables organisations to be prepared and ready, whether it's a minor incident or a major disaster. Now, ISO 22301, or Business Continuity Standard, uses a structure of 10 clauses, what's called Annex SL. But if you group those together, it really sort of covers 4 key areas. The first one is continuity. That's the processes a business must follow to run a successful business continuity management system and be able to monitor, prevent, assess, and recover from disruptions to their businesses. There then comes into it the management responsibility, which is one of the key areas. And this is where the management team really need to focus and be involved and be accountable for the disaster recovery plan and to plan what resources are actually needed, which leads us to the third one, the resource management. Now, this is about people, infrastructure, facilities, how they've got to be assigned to ensure the best possible recovery and performance. And then as ISO standards are about evolving and about improving the way businesses operate, it's about a measurement as a fourth one. And that's really the analysis and the improvements of how you can determine if your management system is working as expected and facilitating a continual improvement of the management system to plan, ensure, and also recover a business in the event from a minor incident to a major disaster. Now, ISO 22301 delivers significant value to any organization. And it's really about ensuring that you can continue regardless of the type of disaster. It's about knowing what your risks are, planning on how to mitigate them, and continuing to run the business. But it's also knowing what the risks are, it's understanding what your vulnerabilities are, not just, as I said, from an IT or an operational, but what the market is actually doing. You know, how can your business, what are the vulnerabilities and how can you actually recover from them? And then building a plan and a process and a structure to give you robust business continuity and disaster recovery and business continuity management. Enables you to rehearse what you would do in the event of a disaster to be able to cover and protect and deal with anything from a sort of major incident to a major disaster. And as I've said before, it's about those stakeholders, about giving them absolute confidence in your business that you can continue regardless of the type of incident that could affect you as an organization. But it also helps enhance the reputation of the organization. It also helps build trust within your ecosystem, within your wider stakeholders of the business. But it's also, as a plus point, it's a very valuable marketing tool to enable you to promote that you are a business continuity focused organization, that you are taking business continuity seriously, and that you have plans, procedures, and processes in place in the event of any type of disaster to continue to provide the services that you do to your customers, whether that's shipping products out of a warehouse, providing consultancy, management services, software. It doesn't really matter. It's applicable to any business and any industry. Now, what you shouldn't see ISO as a cost to the business. It's really an investment. At CCS, we have also invested in ISO. We're an ISO 9001 accredited company and registered company. But ISO 22301 should be seen as an investment, not a cost to your business too. You know, it's an investment in your company, you know, to ensure you can cope regardless of the type of disaster, to safeguard your brand and reputation, but also as a positive to enable you to win more business, increase profits and utilize the investments that you're making in a business and control your costs as well. It's an investment in, it's an investment in your employees. You know, it helps them understand what their roles are, what their responsibilities are, and safeguards them in the event of a disaster, and gives them that clear understanding of what their roles and responsibilities are, which enhances their performance in the event of a disaster. Obviously, it's an investment in your customers as well, you know, I suppose to demonstrate your reliability and availability of service, that you can reduce the business continuity risks and improve service levels and also meet and exceed them as well. Because if you are affected by a disaster, it shouldn't have an impact on your ability to deliver your service to your customers. So it's you investing in your customers as well, but also investing in your future, you know, I suppose in simple terms, to make sure your business can continue to operate regardless of the type of disaster. And that investment in the future is an investment in your stakeholders, You know, it's proving your credentials to a global market, because ISO is an international standard. But why now? You know, why look at doing something like investing in ISO now? And I think it's really about, you know, a lot of businesses have great reputations in the marketplace, that they've always been there, that they've always continued to operate and always worked. But that's based on your based on your history, not your current performance. ISO 22301 will enhance your reputation and your brand image. Obviously, it's going to reduce potential damages from disasters. You know, obviously there's cost savings, better management controls, better business continuity plans to enable you to deliver the services regardless of what type of disaster may strike you as an organization. Obviously, it helps with compliance. You may have contractual or legal compliances that you must be able to provide services to people. But a lot of businesses now are starting to mandate that their supply chain, from contractual point of view, must have business continuity plans in place. I'm also seeing this a lot with things like ISO 27001 around information and data security. We're getting approached all the time by businesses saying that their customers demanded that they must have ISO 27001 to prove that they can look after their information and data, or ISO 27701 for privacy information management, you know, to make sure that they can look after personal identifiable information. And so a lot of organizations are now building these types of standards into their contracts to ensure that down the line their supply chains are not putting their businesses at risk by not being able to supply because they've had a minor incident or a major disaster. And again, that all builds to providing that sort of warm, cuddly feeling, should we say, to stakeholders, to your employees, to the market, to your customers, but also to avoid the financial impacts of disasters. The recovery costs alone, the HSE one we spoke around, was 80 million, not counting any of the remediation work that they will have to put in place to improve the way they operate as a business. But then there's also the potential business damage, the loss of potential customers, losing of new business, but also the business damage from losing internal staff as well. We're seeing that with organizations hit by disasters. A lot of the staff are then deciding that they want to work for an organization that is better prepared in the event of a disaster, because they're concerned about their ability to get paid, their ability for the company to continue to be in business for them as an individual. And so it can actually be huge. But it's really, I suppose, in simple terms, why now? It enhances your reputation, it assures the marketplace, and it protects your organization, your customers, your suppliers, and other stakeholders in the business. So how can CCS help? You know, we are a cybersecurity, risk management, and ISO consultancy provider. We provide consultancy and certifications for ISO standards. Obviously, we're talking about ISO 22301, but the process and procedures that we go through, it doesn't matter which standard it is. It still falls around this same exact way of 5-step process. Now, we provide fixed fee investment pricing, you know, regardless of how complex you are of a business or how long it would actually take for you to achieve the ISO certification of business continuity. You know, we're not here to come and tell you how to run your business or how to do your job. We're very flexible. We fit around how you actually work as an organization. And what we also do is we assign an IRCA qualified consultant to work with you. Now, that's the International Register of Certified Auditors. And these are highly skilled consultants for implementing ISO standards within businesses. And they have to pass exams to be able to deliver that levels of consultancy into an organization. And we assign an assessor throughout the entire life cycle of the project to ensure, one, you get continuity, and two, that they are with you and understand how your business operates and how you work. And we simply look to build the framework around your business that meets the requirements of the ISO 22301 standard. And we simply look to improve the way you operate from a business continuity, or if it's a quality one, I went through exactly the same process myself, and build the systems, but look just simply to improve them at the same time. And we provide that full implementation, you know, making sure that whatever journey you take, whether it's to ISO for quality or information security, IT service management, health and safety, environmental, it doesn't matter, that it's as trouble-free and as easy for you as possible. And the way we deliver that is through a very simple 5-step process. The first one is a gap analysis. Now, we've worked with organizations ranging from 10, 50,000 employees down to 1- and 2-man companies. And so we first of all do a gap analysis. We look at your current processes and procedures that you have in place in the event of a disaster and what you actually need to do. And we look at the framework and the requirements of the ISO standard, and we develop a gap analysis from it. That typically takes about half a day, where we sit down with you, very much in conversational. What we don't do is send you frequently asked questions, ask you to start documenting all your processes yourself and write all these up. Some of the organizations we work with may have a lot of processes already written down. Other organizations might not have anything written down at all. It might be literally in somebody's head that in the event of a disaster, maybe it's an IT outage, what do we do? Or we manually switch over to the backup system, or we send everybody home and we log on via VPN into the cloud infrastructure. But it's not documented, it's not evidence in the fact you're actually working to that standard. We will take that information from you and start to develop the documentation and the processes for you. We then do that documentation development, and then we then come back to you and present those back to you in how the management system will look. And that's really for 2 reasons. One, to make sure that if has anything changed between when we did the gap analysis to when we come back and present the documentation, or as maybe one of your customers come and done a more higher demand on you from a business continuity or quality or information security point of view. It's then up to you then to adopt the standard and start rolling out the processes and procedures that we have developed with you into your business and start working towards the standard. What we then do is we then work with a certification company to come in and certify you to the standard. Now, I'm all certified by QAS International, or an independent certification organization, but you may want to be certified by UCAS, which is more focused around organizations selling into the public sector and providing services to them. Or you may want a fully international one. Maybe you've got a global presence and you want to go for IIS, which is all falls under the ISO umbrella. But the work we do will meet all the requirements, whether it's independent, UCAS, or IAS. And we work with you and we stay with you throughout the project until you've reached that certification stage. All that at a fixed investment price, so that you can budget for it and make sure it meets the needs of you as a business and delivers the value to you as an organization. But like I said a few moments ago, what we don't do is point you at a portal and ask you to do all the work yourself. We do all the heavy lifting. Obviously, we're going to give you advice and guidance throughout to try and improve the current processes that you're doing around business continuity or quality or whatever standard, and to make sure that you're getting the best value from it. Obviously, as we've said, we've done the gap analysis, we've maybe assessed an existing management system that might be written down or just might be in somebody's head or written literally on the back of a fag packet, and we build that in there. We've designed and developed the management system for you. It's us that have written up the processes and the procedures to enable you to have a comprehensive business continuity management system in place. We'll obviously supply you all the relevant documentation, but we also instruct somebody within your organization to maintain and manage the system. And that is really that person's sort of role will be, if something changes within your organization, new requirements come from your customers that may affect the management system, it's about keeping it up to date. Because in 12 months' time, once you've been certified at the 12-month anniversary, you'll need to be re-audited again to make sure that you are still meeting the standard, both from a documentation point of view and also an evidence fact that you're actually operating in that way. And as I've said, then we can work with whichever certification organisation you choose to work with. We've worked with everyone from Lloyd's of London, URS, AAC, BSI, from the UCAS point of view, or we work particularly well with QAS International from an independent point of view. So that is your choice, whatever meets your business requirements from a certification point of view. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we can supply a whole host of other standards, and you can see them on ccsrisk.com/ISO-standards around quality, health and safety, environmental, food safety. We're seeing that a lot more in the press at the moment around food safety being a concern across the EU. And I'm starting to work with a lot of organisations now, helping them adopt ISO 22000 for food safety. Might not be applicable to this audience, but the key ones for us tend to be quality, which we have, environmental, because there's been a lot of accusations in the marketplace about people greenwashing and pretending they're looking after the environment. And ISO 14001 is a great standard to prove your green credentials to a global market. And obviously health and safety, protecting you people. Energy management, we're seeing a lot more organisations now approach us around energy management, especially with the energy crisis that's happening and the cost of energy going up, where people are looking to reduce their energy expenditure and to look to control the costs of using energy throughout their businesses. But we can provide additional ISO standards to complement ISO 22301. As I said, though, we also provide training as part of our internal auditor instruction. But if you've got a wider team or you're a larger organisation, we can provide bespoke training. We can provide general training where people can just log on with a mixed group, or we can provide very bespoke training for you to help you manage the system and to help you run and control business continuity or whichever standard in a far more productive manner. We also provide a lot of support and managed services around the ISO standard. Especially if you've got things like your UCAS certified, maybe doing internal audits or pre-audit inspection to make sure that you will meet the standard when you actually go for the audit, or just doing a simple management review and system analysis or gap analysis of where you are now to see what you'll have to put in place to meet the standard. What we can also do is, if you've got multiple standards, we've recently working with a couple of large IT organisations that have got 9,000 already, they want to add 14,001, and we're now merging them and integrating them into a single management system to reduce their overheads and improve their efficiencies. And we've integrated those excuse me, into a single management system. Or you may be with a different type of certification body, but you want to unify that, or you may have multiple ISOs with different certification bodies, and we can help you merge those into a single one, which could potentially save you costs in audit times and help you, whether that's moving independent to UCAS, UCAS to independent, or IAS. Reach out to us and we can actually help you on that journey as well. Now, I suppose just to sort of summarize, it doesn't matter what size organization you are, what type of business, what vertical, how many employees, ISO 22301 can deliver significant value to you as an organization. And the key value is ensuring you can continue after a disaster. And once you are ISO certified, it's about shouting about it from the rooftops, letting your customers, your stakeholders, the market in general know that you are an ISO 22301 organization, and that regardless of it's a minor incident or a major disaster, that you've got plans, process and procedures in place to mitigate the risks associated with that. And it's about, as I've mentioned many times in this call, it's about giving your stakeholders confidence in you as a business and exceeding the expectations they have of you, and enabling you to continue to service your clients, your customers, your own employees, stakeholders, regardless of what incident hits you. And as I said, any company, doesn't matter whether it's a one-man band or a 50,000 employee company, ISO 22301 is a great standard around business continuity to ensure that people can continue to do their work and the business can continue to run. But what we're seeing is when things don't work as they should, when an incident, whether it's a minor incident or a major disaster happens and things don't work as they should, I suppose in simple terms, it just means that standards just aren't present. And ISO brings that standard, that unity within the business. Everybody knows their roles, responsibilities, what to do in the event of a disaster. We've looked at the risks and what the challenges are to the business. We understand them, and we've got a plan around what we actually need to do to protect our organization. Now, we've got a variety of potential next steps. We can request further information. I will be sending obviously this slide deck out to everyone here and also the people who didn't attend. You just click on the underlined further information. It will take you to information about all the different ISO standards we can help you with. If you want case studies, references, etc., just reach out to us, let us know. We also can arrange an ISO benefits review where we'll sit down with you, talk around your business, what you're looking to achieve, and make it really specific for you and how it can benefit you as an organization. Or if you just want to go straight for the investment pricing and find out what it is, there's a link where you can request, fill out a few bits of information, numbers of employees, numbers of sites, etc., what type of certification, independent, UCAS, etc. And we'll come back to you as quickly as possible with a fixed price proposal that will enable you to understand what the cost implications are, but it's not a cost, it's an investment, and how long it will actually take. And it doesn't matter how complex you are as a business or how long it will take us to deliver it, the investment pricing is still the same. So that's kind of, I finished probably about 5 minutes earlier. So if there are any questions, I'll just bear with me while I just change screens, if there are any questions. If there are any questions, please, just drop them into the chat window and I'll try and cover them off. No, doesn't look like there are any questions. Well, hopefully that's because I covered everything and you're happy with everything that you've actually seen, and hopefully you found value in attending this webinar. Obviously, if there are any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. My contact details are on the screen at the moment, or visit our website at ccsrisk.com, where you'll find a whole host of other information around the different ISO standards and how CCS can help you implement them and get the benefits and the value to you as an organization out of them. So as we're finished about 10-15 minutes early, I'd just like to say again, thank you very much for joining us today. Really do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day, and thank you very much.